What's going on, everybody? So today we are going over the top 5 must-try builds for the beta. Now, before we get into it, I've been doing a lot of posts about the community and just stuff going on. I wanted to do something a little bit more akin to the game because I've just been super excited. I can't wait. I've been messing around with some builds and such, but these are not going to be the top 5 min-maxed best builds ever. These are just ones that I highly suggest that you try, either because they're super crazy because they do something really fun, or that they are just going to be really solid in general. Again, I don't promise that they're going to be the absolute best boss killers, best wave clearers, but they're going to be a build that's going to be very usable and very solid for you to level quickly, as well as just to enjoy the beta. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the Barbarian, starting off with the Barbarian. And I think a lot of people see this one coming, but to me, my ultimate favorite build is going to be the Upheaval build, right? I think that Upheaval in general is just going to be so insanely fun. You're going to want to max out Upheaval, and you're really going to want to just dive into just Flay plus Upheaval. Flay is just one of the highest dealing basic damage in the game in terms of bleed damage, right? Although you're not going to get a ton of damage instantly, the bleed damage really does amp up over time. You're going to run Rallying Cry over here and try to pick up Tactical Rallying Cry so you can get some extra fury, which will allow you to use Upheaval almost instantaneously, which is big. And then we're going to run back into Upheaval again. We want to max out Upheaval. It's going to be our main damage dealing skill. Okay, then we're going to pick up Leap. I generally like something to move around just a little bit more with the Barbarian, right? You don't have to run Leap, although it is something to consider. And then Enhanced Leap, this can help you move around the map even better. Again, we're talking about the beta, we don't have mounts, etc. And Power Leap, this is actually really important. Why? Because you jump in, you get the fury instantly, blast people with the Upheaval, and it's going to help you out a lot. Now, there's a few things in here. Death Blow is going to really help you out in terms of just allowing you to deal extra damage. Now, I do like the Warrior's Death Blow, but again, since we're building around Upheaval, Fighter's Death Blow, if we damage someone, we're getting Fury. So what ends up happening is we can run Death Blow, smack someone, kill them, smack someone again, kill them, get the fury back, Upheaval again, which is pretty big. And that's pretty much level 20. And I'm going to leave it at that for those of you that might not want to grind out Renown. I'm only going to go to level 20, which is going to be pretty massive, okay? Because the beta is only allowed for level 20. So that's going to be the Barbarian one. Guys, I recommend you run Upheaval. It's going to be super fun, okay? You can really smack hard with this build if you get the proper legendary items. And it's my favorite in terms of the fun aspect of Barbarian. If you're looking for a better build, in my opinion, I don't think this is the best build for Barbarian. I think the Thorns build is a better all-rounder build, where you don't have to think nearly as much and you can literally just walk through people and kill them off, which I do have a full video on that on the channel. Next one up is going to be the Druid. Now, this one is kind of interesting because there are 2 builds that I've actually really enjoyed. First off was the Pulverize one. I thought Pulverize was actually quite good. I really dislike Lightning Storm, Tornado, and Shred. I think all 3 of these skills are pretty mediocre, but I do think that the one that was my favorite, and I did do a video on this, was the Landslide build, but I want to make a couple modifications. First off, Wildstorm Strike, this is pretty big. The whole idea of this build is really to kind of immobilize people and then take advantage of Primal Landslide, because whenever we immobilize or stun an enemy, we're going to get a guaranteed crit with extra critical strike damage, okay? So as soon as you unlock Landslide, I highly recommend you just max it out. Just max it out. Okay, it's going to be pretty massive for you to max out. We have a couple of defensive skills over here. Earthen Bulwark is going to be pretty big if you're looking for some extra defense. So I like to pick up Enhanced Earthen Bulwark just so you can get that stun break. It really does help out in some scenarios. Then we have an interesting one. This is a modification that I actually did not make in my build. However, I did try it out after some people suggested it, and I absolutely agree with them. It makes the build much more, I guess you could say, smooth. So Vine Creeper, what this is going to do is going to merge Vine Creepers, apply poisoning passively, and then we have the increased immobilize duration, and we don't really care about either of these. But when you activate this, you can get a massive immobilize. Keep in mind that the terror modes that you're getting for landslides stack, as far as I've seen, up to like infinitely. I've gone up to like 67, so you can just constantly spam out landslides once you get that. Okay, and then we go into sort of the wrath skills after we put some more points into it. You can run extra points of divine creeper. You can do some extra nature's reach damage with landslide, right? That stuff is kind of okay. I personally really enjoyed going 4 points into wild impulses, or 4 points into the spirit tree even more, just to max out our landslide damage. And then we can come down here and potentially unlock something here. Although none of these things are particularly amazing, to be honest. I don't really like any of these ones, just 1 point into it. Keep in mind that we are only level 20, right? So I ran, I think, Crushing Earth. I did run Crushing Earth on my previous build. Again, this whole build is revolving around, okay, I just need to get as much stunning as possible out there and then drop my landslide on them and just absolutely destroy them. Okay, the damage on this is pretty insane. If you guys checked out my video on this, I highly recommend you check out landslide. If you're looking to like kill bosses very quickly, this will do it. I was able to kill bosses in 4 to 5 seconds on the landslide druid. It is an insane damage dealing build. The early game is going to be a little bit tricky. However, it's really going to pay off once you start getting some points into your landslide and potentially getting some legendary items as well. Moving on to the Necromancer here. Okay, so Necromancer's got a couple nerfs associated with it. Obviously, there's a couple changes, like Barbarian gets some extra damage reduction, etc. But I think Necromancer changes are the biggest ones that I kind of want to focus on here because, well, I think it affects the builds the most. And what we're going to be doing is actually sacrificing our summoned creatures for extra bonuses, and we're going to be focusing on some bonuses for the bone splinters, right? We really want to run for our skeletal warriors and for our the golem. You're going to want to sacrifice those and keep your bone mages. These are, in my opinion, are going to be the best way to go. Now you can run corpse explosion with the blood mist legendary item. However, that actually doesn't do a lot of damage comparatively to the build I'm about to recommend. At the same time, it also got nerfed. We're going to be going for bone splinters, and we're also going to go for enhanced bone splinters, and then we can run one of these, but I'm actually going to skip it because we only have a few points. We're going to max out bone spear. Okay, bone spear. We're going to go for enhanced bone spear. And then also, we really want to go for supernatural bone spear with a legendary item. This can make everyone permanently vulnerable, whether or not you hit him as the first target or the target after. And with a specific legendary item, I really like supernatural bone spear. Then we have blood mist, we have corpse explosion, bone prison, etc. Corpse explosion is going to be pretty nice, which is going to help us generate essence. Now, as far as we've known, blood mist, when it procs corpse explosion, it does not actually proc the higher level one, which is actually something that someone tested. I'm not sure if they fixed that, if it was intentional or what, but based on that, we're going to want to put a couple points in a corpse explosion. I recommend literally just maxing out corpse explosion, right? And then we go down here, Grim Harvest, we want to max that out, and then we can go ahead and put 2 points into Fueled by Death. So it's a pretty simple build. We just run around bone spearing people and corpse exploding people. It's not that difficult, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoy this. Bone spear does massive damage, okay, massive damage. And then instead of using your basic ability as your generator, you're going to be using corpse explosion as your generator with the Grim Harvest. And with Fueled by Death, you're basically getting an 8% increased bonus damage for bone spear, and bone spear does massive damage. Okay, I really enjoyed this build. To me, it's a lot more fun than the blood mist build, because the problem with the blood mist build is that it doesn't do nearly as much burst damage, and it definitely doesn't do as much damage to bosses. And so I prefer to just manually cast my skills. And again, on a level 20 build, I highly recommend focusing in on a couple skills and really taking advantage out of them, and then using some of your items to potentially pick up some other skills. For example, you could pick up like an Iron Maiden or Decrepify, or potentially another skill down here like Bone Spirit, Corpse Tendrils, etc. From your items rather than actually putting skill points into it. Next up, we have the Rogue, okay, Rogue, and there are a couple things that we could go for this build. I personally really enjoyed Invigorating Strike, and plus Enhanced Invigorating Strike, right? We want to put 2 points into this. This is going to increase our energy regeneration, which is going to help us a lot with Twisting Blades, okay? We want to spam this skill, and we really want to run with advanced twisting blades. Now the crazy part about this, and this is why it's so fun in my opinion, is when our twisting blades return, we're going to reduce our active cooldowns up to 3 seconds, and this means that we can basically perma jump around. We're going to want to run shadow step plus dash here for both of our movement abilities, and we also want to run in with disciplined shadow step, which is when we hit someone that we haven't hit, we're going to reduce our cooldown by 3 seconds. This is going to reduce the cooldown to 6 seconds, and then if we hit with double twisting blades, guess what? It's going to be basically reset. Then we're also going to run dash. Now you can potentially run like methodical dash here, which will go ahead and potentially reduce the cooldown of dash, although guess what? Twisting Blades does that as well. So I like to run a disciplined shadow step as well as dash just for the extra movement abilities. We can run down here. You can run concealment. You can run poison trap. You can run dark shroud. I personally really like poison trap, and you can potentially run some extra, upgrades into poison trap, which can be good. In fact, countering poison trap is quite good. But actually, I like to put a couple extra points into poison trap. Actually, it's just 3 points here because it's going to do extra damage, and then you can see here we have 1 2 3 4 5 skills, so we can run one last one, and that's going to be, to me, you can run shadow step or shadow imbuement or poison imbuement. Either one is good, but generally I find that shadow imbuement is going to be way better, and you can potentially put some extra points into like mixed shadow imbuement, etc. But actually I think that just leveling this one up, dealing extra damage to surrounding enemies is going to be even better than going for the potential upgrades. Keep in mind, since we're only level 20, we're missing out on a lot of combinations, but shadow imbuement is going to help you absolutely nuke down everyone in an area, whereas poison trap is going to give you a little bit of extra just single target damage or just straight up damage, right? The multipliers on that is pretty good. So definitely a powerful build. Shadow Imbuement's going to help you with that AoE, and then same with Twisting Blades, and then Poison Trap's going to help you with that single target damage. This build's super fun, the most mobile build in the game, bar none. It is by far the most mobile build, and it's part of the reason why I love the Rogue so much. And lastly, we have the Sorcerer. Now, there is a couple of things with the Sorcerer that I want to mention. They did nerf the Chain Lightning from what we can tell. However, the basic is still really solid, okay? Now, of these 4 basics, there's, in my opinion, no question. I was really hoping that Firebolt would be better than it was. To be honest, I recommended some people take Firebolt. However, I think that I was just wrong based on my testing after the fact. And that means that Flickering Arc Lash plus Arc Lash is just so good. It's an AoE basic that you just hit. You have to be melee range, which is a consideration, but Arc Lash is just so good. I definitely recommend you go triple points into it. You could go 1 point into your core skill and come back and getting the movement speed, or you don't even have to go for the movement speed if you don't want it, but definitely enhanced Arc Lash is going to be pretty important. And then we come to the core skills, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting because we have the Chain Lightning being nerfed. But guess what? Chain Lightning is still going to be the most damage, which to me is the most fun. I don't care. I like damage. I'm sure a lot of you also like damage, okay? Chain Lightning, guys, the other skills, the other core skills don't even come close if you're in a single target situation, which is the problem with Chain Lightning, right? I think that's why they nerfed it. Fireball is actually quite good as well. Frozen Orb can be interesting. Ice Shards can be interesting. But to me, those oftentimes are more for a little bit of utility, right? Chilling enemies, dealing extra damage to frozen enemies. And I think the Ice build, the Cold build, is oftentimes way less damage than just running Hydra plus Chain Lightning. Fireball can be good. I like Fireball actually with combination with Hydra. Incinerate, I hate Incinerate. Do not run Incinerate. I think Incinerate's just bad. Unfortunately, its burning doesn't really do a crazy amount of damage. You have to stand in place. The mana cost is too expensive. I just don't think Incinerate's very good. To me, not very fun, not very good. But you're going to want to pick up Enhanced Chain Lightning, Greater Chain Lightning. It's going to allow you to deal extra increased damage when it bounces off you. Then we move over here and we're going to pick up Ice Armor, right? And we can run Enhanced Ice Armor, Shimmering Ice Armor, or Mystical Ice Armor, but I just prefer to run with just Ice Armor, okay? It's pretty nice, right? And it's going to help us out a lot. Now, there are a few options. We kind of have to put a couple more points in here just to make sure that we're able to run through and get some extra points down here. And there is a specific pass ability that I really enjoy just to make you basically unkillable. However, I would recommend coming back and actually putting some points into Arc Lash or potentially Glass Cannon. For me, I'm going to put a point into Glass Cannon, and then we run over to Hydra. We got to max out Hydra, guys. We can run Summon Hydra or Invoked Hydra. I really do think that Summon Hydra generally is going to give you more value. And then we want to put 1 point into Align the Elements. The nice thing about Align the Elements here is going to basically allow you to have permanent 50% damage reduction against elites, simply for the fact that Ice Armor, assuming you're gonna have barriers up permanently, this is gonna really help you out. Now, there are a few other ways to get barrier, as well as some items. So Align the Elements could not potentially be as good as you're hoping for if you don't have those items, but just having Ice Armor can help out a ton and will really amp up your survivability. However, if you're like me and you're like, who cares about survivability? You might want to pick up a teleport just to help you move around a little bit more, or even potentially running with, you could run Ice Blades, you can run Lightning Spear, you can even run down here and pick up Ball Lightning, you can run all sorts of different options. I like Firewall a lot, actually. So for me, generally speaking, what mine build looks like is I'm going to pick up Firewall down here. Firewall actually has some really high damage multipliers. You can see 160% damage over 8 seconds. And so if you could look at Chain Lightning, 58.8% damage and bounces, right? So assuming you're going to hit them 3 times with 25% damage increasing each time. Chain Lightning does about 200% damage, whereas Firewall does about 160% with 1 skill point into it. So Firewall actually does a lot of damage, assuming you're able to keep them in the Firewall, which is really good against bosses. Okay, so that's going to be Sorcerer, and that is going to be the wrap up of the builds, guys. Let me know what class you're going to try out. Let me know what you're interested in. This is just, again, some builds that I think are going to be quite fun for you all to try out. Do a lot of damage. You'll notice I'm very big proponent of just dealing more damage. I'd rather rely on myself to dodge things and deal more damage rather than having a build specifically built around, reducing that damage. Especially in the beta, obviously when we get endgame, we're gonna have to reduce the damage, I guess. But I like doing big damage, and I think this is gonna be a lot of fun for you all to try out. So let me know what you think, and also let me know how you're feeling about the beta. I know that a lot of us are pretty excited, and I'm gonna have more videos talking about some builds, more videos talking about some things to, like a checklist to basically checklist off on the beta for those of you that are just interested in trying the game for the first time. Again, this is mainly just about having as much fun as possible, and to some people that means being as efficient as possible. Some people that means just messing around. Some people that means playing all the different classes. Whatever you're doing, hopefully you have some fun, and I'm excited to jump into the game again coming up here in about 2 weeks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.